Dear students, let us start the discussion on today's newspaper, that is 27th December 2017. The first article, 3 Pak Jawans killed in cross LOC raid. In this, we have to understand three different terms. One is hot pursuit, the second is surgical strike, and third is tactical operation. The hot pursuit is the word used to attack the NSC and Kaplong faction after attack on Indian armed forces in Manipur. So the second is surgical strikes. It is to attack the terrorist hideouts on the other side of the LOC. And third is the tactical operation. Whatever now conducted is a tactical operation in retaliation to attack on Indian Jawans recently by Pak armed forces. In this, 3 Pak Jawans killed. And the next, coming to the editorial page, countering growth inequality. You know that recently there is a report, that is World Inequality Report by World Inequality Labs. Now, what are the important takeouts of this report? Inequality in India has increased remarkably after 1991. It means that there is an assumption that there is a growth, and obviously with the growth comes inequality. To what extent this assumption is true? Let's take the comparison of China and also Europe after the Second World War. Now, China has created much higher wealth than India, much better growth than India, but inequalities are much less in China. And then Europe after the Second World War, it has got a tremendous economic growth, especially Germany and all these countries. But inequalities haven't raised along with the growth. It means that India is unable to convert its growth into a story of equality. So why is this happening? Now all these countries, they have one thing in common, that is expenditure on the social sectors, and that is education and health. The state has played an important role in this expenditure on education and health. Repeatedly I tell to the student the Amartya Sen statement that either it is left or right, everywhere state played an essential role in universalization of health and education. But in India, we are trying to achieve the universal health and education through market means, which may not be successful. That is the Amartya Sen's view. And second perspective, if you take the Japan's miracle, which is also called Asian miracle after the Second World War, a major emphasis is on building the human capital. So, India has failed on this front of building the human capital. That is the reason for the rise in inequalities. And the second perspective, a political narrative is like this. India is a democracy and China is a communist country. So, China's growth story has to be seen from its political dimension. But to what extent it is true? Let us make a comparison. Europe and Japan are democracies, but there is growth with equality, relative equality. But it is not the case with India. And second aspect, in India, certain states have better health educational indices compared to China. So that's why something simplifying into a political narrative as democracy versus communism is not always right. Yes, if you take Cuban example, normally in communist countries, better health and educational indicators are a norm. But however, India's story is much different from that. That's how I will put it as. So it means there is a gross neglect of these human development related sectors. Even if you take Gujarat, though economic growth is remarkable, health and education related indicators are very worse over there. And third aspect, the nature of economic growth in India. China's economic growth has emphasized more on manufacturing sector, which has got job creating potential, and there is elasticity, employment elasticity over there. But in India's growth story, the emphasis is more on service sector, which needs high skilled manpower, but there is no emphasis on the human capital to develop the high skilled manpower. So because of this, the gulf is much high. So these are the 3 points which I want to drive over here based on this particular article. How India rejects bad patents. Now, you have Indian Patent Office under India's Patents Act. There is a section that is 3D. Let's understand something about the patent. First is, Previously, we had process patents. After signing the TRIPS agreement, we shifted to product patent. Product patent means we are going to patent the end product. Whatever the process may be used in manufacturing the end product, that will not be considered as a new product. Previously, under the process patent, if a new methodology is used to manufacture a drug or something, it will be considered as a new product. So now, under the product patent, there are two exemptions. One is public health concerns. If a company is not providing necessary help to the state in the public health concerns, then obviously government can take up that particular manufacturing, or it can allow other people to manufacture the same drug, violating the patent which it owns. That is what we call compulsory licensing. And second thing is, evergreening of patents is an issue. What the companies does, they bring in minor superficial changes and they try to renew the patents. This is what is happened with Gleevec by Novartis. Novartis has tried to do this with Gleevec. So, the government of India is trying to curtail these particular practices. Unless there is therapeutical efficacy and improvement in drug quality, there will be no revival of the patents under Section 3D. Supreme Court of India also has upheld Section 3D, stating that evergreening of patents is not valid under the Indian Patents Act. So this is the point we need to understand. Understand compulsory licensing, Section 3D that prohibits the evergreening of patents. These 2 points, which are objected by the West from time to time. After the sanctions, you know that North Korea has recently was imposed with multiple sanctions by UN Security Council. These are especially related to the refined oil moving into North Korea. And second aspect is North Korean people living in other countries have to be sent back to North Korea. So obviously the foreign exchange which is necessary for its survival will be deprived. Now, UN Security Council, Russia and China also have supported these particular actions. From beginning, Russia and China are in favor of a dialogue. But however, recent actions, WannaCry or testing of hydrogen bomb, these have made everyone to become suspicious about North Korea. And above all, North Korea, the permanent solution lies in dialogue itself. Previously, a scope was given for dialogue, but lack of consistency and credibility is the issue. As I told to you, North Korea has suspended its nuclear program in Kim Jong-il era, the father of the existing ruler's era. But when Bush has come to power, the US has moved back because during Clinton's era, as North Korea suspends its nuclear program, US has promised to give the nuclear reactors to it, but it did not move forward. And second is, for the existing regime, self-preservation is the goal. It is not looking for the hardships the people are going to face. It is not worried about that. How to preserve itself is the major goal to it. In these circumstances, more and more sanctions against the country is going to push the people into hardships rather than pushing regime out of power. Those are the things we need to understand. Now, there isn't going to be a war between India and China today. So this is an interview of Mr. Lisner, a Norwegian author who wrote the book China's India War. Normally, previously, Maxwell is the authority on the subject. What has been said in her book is this. It is India's forward policy that pushed China towards the war. But he brings in new facts which states that the failure of Great Leap Forward and the famine in China made Mr. Mao to gain the confidence of the people. And he saw India as a soft target, and that is the reason for war. And second is, India was the leader of the third world in those days. And China wants to claim that particular leadership position away from Nehru. And he wants to spread this ideological fervor across the countries. The second aspect If we observe today, the China-India war may not happen, but there is a Cold War growing in Asia with India and Japan on one side, China on the other side. The second aspect, future fight will be in the Indian Ocean. Because after the 15th century, China was never in the Indian Ocean, but it made its inroads in Indian Ocean, and the entry to it is majorly through Myanmar. But India is majorly focused on its western border rather than onto the eastern side. So India has to develop its relationships with Myanmar, but there are three major constraints. One is lack of infrastructure, bureaucracy and red tape, and third thing is Indian insurgents, they are staying in Myanmar, and it is creating a diplomatic rift between the countries. But however, in Myanmar, everyone is afraid of huge Chinese presence, including military is afraid of that. And the next aspect is, with regard to Doklam standoff, what this observer says is this: it is more to gain or more to bring in distrust among the Bhutanese rather than embarrass the India on this matter. That's what he opines, because among all the South Asian countries, Bhutan is the only country now which is not under China's influence. That's why to wedge the gulf between India and Bhutan is the primary objective of China over here. That is what is the author's view. And GST collection goes down. So last trimester or last quarter, we have GST collections peaking up. The major reason is as the people or as the traders have brought in the new inventory, it has increased the GST collections. But there is a dip in GST collections now. Then we have to find out the reasons for the same. And next is, China moots Afghan entry into CPEC. China-Pakistan Economic Corridor is a connectivity project under One Belt One Road initiative to Eurasia. Now, China has also asked Afghanistan to join the project. This is definitely going to trouble India or irk India. The reasons are this: India already has Iran-India-Afghan agreement to provide an alternate access to Afghanistan through Chabahar port. You know, Afghanistan is a landlocked country. It needs an access to sea. So, Afghanistan is promised an access to sea through Gwadar port by bringing it under CPEC. This is what this plan is all about. And then, let's go to the last page. Here, the notes is there which will be available to you at lax.in/civilsprep. Thank you very much and all the best.